The woman my husband left me for called me 6 months after he moved into her apartment. Her voice was shaking. She said, "You warned me about him. I thought you were jealous." I sat at my kitchen table, with the phone pressed to my ear, and listened to the same silence I had lived inside for years. Then she whispered, "He emptied my savings account." That was not the worst thing my husband had done to me. It was simply the first thing he did to her that she could not explain away. By then, I had stopped waiting for anyone to believe me. I was 52 when my marriage ended. My husband Raymond was 55. We had been married for 27 years. The younger woman was 34. Her name was Tessa Morgan, and she worked in the same insurance office where Raymond had recently become regional sales manager. People like to imagine affairs begin with perfume, hotel rooms, and reckless desire. Ours began with admiration. Raymond liked being admired. That sounds ordinary. Most people do. With him, admiration was not a pleasure. It was fuel. When it ran low, he became restless, critical, and cold. I did not understand that during the early years. When we met, I was 23 and working as a receptionist at a dental office outside Raleigh, North Carolina. Raymond was 26, charming, ambitious, and certain he would build a better life than the one he came from. His father had worked seasonal construction jobs. His mother cleaned motel rooms. Money disappeared as quickly as it arrived. Raymond hated uncertainty. He wore inexpensive suits as if they were tailored, memorized the names of powerful people, and spoke about future promotions before he had earned them. I admired his drive. He admired my steadiness. At least that was what he said. I became the person who made his ambition possible. I worked full-time while he completed insurance certifications. I handled bills. I remembered birthdays. I smoothed conflicts with his family. I raised our 2 children, Natalie and Owen, while continuing part-time bookkeeping work from home. Raymond worked long hours. He traveled. He entertained clients. He earned more each year. We bought a 4-bedroom house in a quiet subdivision. We paid for braces, soccer camps, college applications, and one expensive roof replacement after a hurricane. From the outside, we looked successful. Inside, success had become Raymond's argument for why everything should revolve around him. He chose restaurants because his time was valuable. He chose vacations because he paid for most of them. He made large purchases without asking and called my objections negativity. If I succeeded at something, he found a smaller flaw. When I completed an accounting certificate at 42, he said, "That's useful, but you're not exactly starting a career now." I laughed at the time. Later, I understood he needed me competent enough to support him and uncertain enough not to leave. That is a difficult truth to admit, not only because of what it says about him, because of how long I accepted it. Raymond never hit me. He never shouted often enough for neighbors to notice. His control was quieter. He moved money between accounts and explained it later. He opened credit cards for business purposes and carried balances he called temporary. He borrowed against our home equity twice. The first time, he said it funded an investment. The second time, he said it consolidated debt from the first. He promised every financial decision would improve our future. Our future kept requiring another loan. I became better at documenting everything. Statements, tax returns, insurance records, passwords. Not because I planned to leave, because I learned Raymond's explanations changed depending on the audience. When our children were young, he portrayed himself as the responsible provider. When they grew older and noticed tension, he said I was anxious about money. Both statements contained enough truth to sound believable. I was anxious. Anyone whose spouse moved $30,000 without warning would be. Natalie was 25 when the affair began. Owen was 22. Both lived away from home. For the first time in decades, Raymond and I had no children buffering our marriage. We ate dinner together and discovered silence. I suggested counseling. He said our problem was routine. He bought a new car, joined a private gym, changed his hair. Then Tessa began appearing in stories. Tessa understands the new client platform. Tessa has real energy. Tessa says younger employees want flexibility. He mentioned her more than he realized. I asked directly whether something was happening. He looked offended. "You think every woman who respects me wants me? No, I think you enjoy telling me how much she respects you." He said I was insecure. That word became his shield. Insecure, controlling, negative. Any concern I raised became evidence about my personality instead of his conduct. 3 months later, I found a hotel receipt inside a suit pocket. 1 room, 2 breakfasts, a city 90 minutes from where his conference was held. Raymond said a colleague had used his room after a flight cancellation. I asked which colleague. He refused to answer because he said I would drag an innocent person into marital drama. I wanted to believe him, not because the explanation was convincing, because belief postponed the collapse. The affair became undeniable through a shared photo account. Raymond had forgotten that his work tablet still synced with our family cloud storage. A photograph appeared. Tessa, standing on a balcony, wearing Raymond's dress shirt. No explicit post. No explanation possible. I stared at the image for nearly an hour. Then I printed it. When Raymond returned, I placed it on the kitchen counter. He looked at it once, then sat down. I did not mean for you to find out this way. That sentence made me laugh. How did you mean for me to find out? He said the marriage had been over emotionally for years. That surprised me because he had still accepted meals, clean shirts, tax preparation, family holidays, and the comfort of my presence during those dead years. He said Tessa made him feel alive. I asked whether she knew he was married. Yes. Does she know about the debt? His face changed. What debt? All of it. He became angry. He said our finances were private. I said, you are planning a life with her, using a version of yourself that does not exist. That was the first warning. He dismissed it. He moved out 2 weeks later. Tessa sent me a message through social media. It was polite in the insulting way people become polite when they want moral credit. I know the situation has caused pain. Raymond and I did not intend to hurt anyone. Sometimes people find the right relationship later in life. I read it twice, then replied, before you combine finances, ask to see his complete credit report, tax returns, business debts, and every account carrying his name. She answered, I'm not interested in discussing private matters with you. I wrote, that is exactly what he is counting on. She blocked me. Our children reacted differently. Natalie was furious with her father. Owen blamed both of us. He said the marriage had been unhappy for years and no one had been honest. That hurt because it was partly true. I had hidden conflict to protect them. Raymond had hidden betrayal to protect himself. The results looked similar from a distance. Divorce proceedings began. Raymond wanted speed. He proposed selling the house, dividing retirement accounts, and keeping individual debt separate. My attorney, Linda Graves, asked for full financial disclosure. Raymond resisted. Then the records arrived. The debt was worse than I knew. 3 credit cards, 2 personal loans, a business investment in a failed insurance marketing startup, unpaid taxes connected to commissions, and a private loan from Raymond's cousin. Some debts were in his name, others were secured by marital property. The home equity line had been used partly to cover losses from the startup. The family savings account was nearly empty. I had known enough to worry. I had not known enough to leave without legal protection. That difference mattered. Raymond accused me of trying to destroy him financially. I replied, I am trying to stop you from making me responsible for what you hid. Tessa remained with him. She believed I exaggerated. He told her I had always handled the household money and was now pretending ignorance. That was clever, because I had handled bills, but Raymond controlled access to income, investments, and loans, while giving me the responsibility to make numbers work. He told Tessa I was vindictive. I warned her again through a letter from my attorney, not an emotional letter, a factual one. Raymond had undisclosed liabilities. Any joint accounts, co-signed loans, or property transfers created risk. Tessa called the letter harassment. Her lawyer sent a warning that I should stop contacting her. I stopped. The divorce took 11 months. We sold the house. After debt repayment, little equity remained. I received part of Raymond's retirement account and kept my own savings. He accepted responsibility for certain personal and business debts. The court did not create perfect justice. Creditors do not care about betrayal. They care about signatures. I had signed 1 home equity loan. I absorbed part of that damage. I moved into a smaller townhouse near a lake. For the first time since my 20s, every object inside belonged to a life I had chosen. The relief came slowly. At first, the silence felt like abandonment. Then it became peace. Raymond moved into Tessa's apartment. They posted photographs, weekend trips, restaurant dinners, a new sofa. A caption beneath one picture said, "Building the life we deserve." Natalie sent it to me angrily. I asked her to stop monitoring them. She said, "Doesn't it bother you?" "Yes." "Then why are you acting calm?" "Because reacting does not change the debt." That was a practical answer. Emotionally, I felt replaced. Tessa was younger, stylish, successful, and visibly excited by the man who had spent years treating my presence as furniture. I wondered whether I had caused his coldness. whether age had made me dull, whether another woman would receive the tenderness I had spent decades trying to recover. Those thoughts embarrassed me. They were real. My therapist, Dr. Elise Warren, asked a question I resisted. What if he treats her better? I began crying. She said, "Would that mean you deserve how he treated you?" No. Then why is her future a verdict on your past? I did not have an answer. 6 months after Raymond moved in with Tessa, she called. Not messaged, called. I almost ignored the unknown number, then answered, "Is this Diane?" "My name is Diane." "Yes, it's Tessa." Her voice shook. I said nothing. She said Raymond had emptied $32,000 from their joint savings account. The account held money Tessa inherited from her grandmother and funds she planned to use as a down payment on a house. Raymond said he transferred it temporarily to resolve a tax lien. Then she discovered he had placed part into another investment opportunity and used part to pay old debt. He had promised her the debt was settled in the divorce. It was not. She asked, "Did he do this to you?" "Yes." "How often?" "I do not know. More than once." "Why didn't you tell me?" "I did." She began crying. "I thought you wanted us to fail. I wanted you to understand what you were joining." She said he told her I was controlling and paranoid. I answered, "He says that about anyone who asks for records." That was the midpoint. Tessa had not called because she regretted the affair. She called because the pattern had reached her bank account. Part of me felt satisfaction. I am not proud of it. For a few seconds I wanted to say, "I warned you." Then I remembered the confusion, humiliation, and fear of discovering money missing. No one deserved that because they had once been arrogant. I asked whether she had access to the account. Yes. Freeze what remains, change passwords, contact the bank and an attorney. Do not sign anything. She asked whether I would send her copies of divorce records. I said her attorney could request public filings or contact mine. I would not become her private investigator. She sounded hurt. I don't know who else to ask. That does not make me responsible. The boundary felt harsh. It was necessary. She ended the call. 2 days later, Raymond called. He accused me of turning Tessa against him. I laughed. "You moved her money." "It was a joint decision." She says it wasn't. She is confused. The word changed. I had been insecure. Tessa was confused. Different label. Same strategy. He demanded I stop discussing him. I said, "Do not call me again unless it concerns the children or legal obligations." He shouted that I had poisoned everyone. I hung up. Tessa stayed with him. That surprised me. She hired an attorney, but did not leave immediately. Raymond apologized, returned part of the money, and promised counseling. He said stress caused the mistake. He said he was trying to protect their future. I recognized every phrase. I wanted to warn her again. I did not. Adults are allowed to receive truth and still make choices we dislike. Natalie learned about the incident from Tessa. They had exchanged messages after the affair, mostly angry ones. Now Tessa asked her whether Raymond had always been secretive with money. Natalie called me. Should I tell her? Tell the truth without becoming responsible for what she does with it. That advice was easier to give than follow. Natalie told Tessa about unpaid tuition payments, family vacations placed on credit, and the year Raymond borrowed from her college account, then replaced the money quietly. I had never known about the college account. That discovery created a new betrayal. Raymond had withdrawn $8,000 when Natalie was 19. He replaced it 6 months later after receiving a bonus. Because the balance recovered, he never told me. Natalie had noticed the missing funds and believed I knew. For years, she had carried anger toward both of us. I asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" "You always defended him." The sentence broke something open. I had believed protecting the children meant keeping adult conflict contained. What Natalie experienced was secrecy protecting the person causing harm. I apologized. She said, "I know you were trying." That was not forgiveness. It was the beginning. The stronger final revelation came through Raymond's cousin, Scott. Scott contacted me after receiving a legal notice connected to another unpaid loan. He had lent Raymond $50,000 4 years earlier. Raymond told him the money would expand an insurance brokerage opportunity. Scott never received repayment. I had never known. Then Scott said something worse. Raymond had used my signature on a personal financial statement supporting the loan. Not a loan contract, a statement of household assets. The signature looked like mine. It was not. My attorney arranged forensic review. The document had been submitted electronically. Metadata connected it to Raymond's home computer. The signature was copied from an older tax form. The debt was technically Scott's private loan to Raymond, but the false statement created potential fraud. I confronted Raymond through counsel. He denied forging anything. then claimed I had verbally authorized him to use my signature for business paperwork. I had not. Tessa discovered a folder in their apartment containing copies of my old tax returns, a scan of my driver's license, and blank forms with saved signatures. She took photographs. That was when she finally left. Not because he moved her savings, not because I warned her, because she saw the system. Raymond did not make isolated mistakes. He maintained documents, stories, and access that allowed him to act first and explain later. She moved out while he was traveling. She froze her credit. She filed a police report regarding her transferred funds and cooperated with the investigation into the forged statement. The legal consequences were serious, but not theatrical. Raymond faced civil claims, tax penalties, professional discipline, and a criminal investigation related to document fraud. He eventually accepted a plea agreement involving probation, restitution, fines, and restrictions on financial work. He lost his management position. His insurance license was suspended. He did not go to prison for decades. He lost the identity he valued most. Successful provider, respected manager, man with answers. That was consequence enough to expose him. Tessa asked to meet me. I refused at first, then agreed months later, after the legal process stabilized. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our homes. She looked older than 34. Not physically, in the way betrayal removes certainty from someone's face. She said, "I owe you an apology." Yes. She looked surprised that I did not make it easier. "I treated you like an obstacle. You were involved with my husband. I believed the marriage was already over. He told you that. I wanted to believe it. That honesty mattered." She admitted the secrecy made her feel chosen. Raymond said I did not understand him. He said she inspired him. He framed their relationship as proof he had finally found courage. She did not ask enough questions because questions might have damaged the romance. "I thought your warnings were about getting him back," she said. "I was trying to keep him from creating another financial victim." Why? That question surprised me, because I knew what it felt like. She began crying, then said, "I did not give you that compassion. No, we sat with the truth. I did not forgive her fully that day. I did not need to. Forgiveness is not a fee someone pays with an apology. It is a process the harmed person controls." We spoke again later. Not often, enough to exchange documents and support Natalie when she gave a statement. Tessa rebuilt her finances slowly. She recovered part of the savings. Not all. She changed jobs because working near Raymond had become unbearable. She entered therapy. She stopped asking me to explain him. That was important. Women are often expected to study the man who harmed them, until his behavior becomes understandable enough to reduce anger. Understanding can help. It can also become another unpaid responsibility. Raymond's childhood mattered. His fear of poverty mattered. His need for admiration developed somewhere. None of that authorized deception. My own role required examination too. I had managed, covered, and repaired financial problems for years. I believed competence protected the family. Sometimes it protected Raymond from consequences. I had not forged signatures or moved money secretly. Still, I helped maintain the image that everything was stable. That image made it easier for him to tell Tessa I was irrational. Everyone else saw a successful man with an anxious wife. I had participated in presenting the success. After the legal case, Raymond wrote me a letter. He said he had been afraid his whole life, afraid of poverty, afraid of failure, afraid of becoming his father. Money gave him temporary relief. Admiration gave him temporary relief. When either disappeared, he reached for more. He apologized for the affair, debt, forgery, and damage to the children. The letter was thoughtful. I believed parts of it. I did not respond. An apology does not require renewed access. Owen struggled longer than Natalie. He had defended Raymond during the divorce. Learning about the forged signature humiliated him. He stopped speaking to his father for a year, then resumed limited contact. I supported his choice. Natalie remained distant. The children did not agree about forgiveness. They did not need to. Each relationship had different damage. I sold bookkeeping services to small businesses after the divorce. At first, I took only a few clients, then more. I became especially careful with internal controls for family-owned companies. Separate approvals, audit trails, no shared passwords.